Welcome to our deep dive into the darker side of professional football. Now, I love this sport. You love this sport. We all tune in week after week, Sunday after Sunday, for the electrifying plays, the nail-biting finishes, the sheer athleticism. But let's be real, folks. There's a side to this game we can't ignore. Today, we're exploring the unfortunate instances when NFL stars make headlines for all the wrong reasons. We're talking about the off-the-field incidents, the arrests, the accusations, the violence that rocks the very foundation of this league. We're going to break down the impact on players, the media frenzy, the legal battles, and the NFL's response. We're going to hold nothing back. We all know the NFL is a business, right? A billion-dollar industry where your talent can take you from rags to riches. But that talent, that hard work, can all vanish in a heartbeat. One wrong move, one moment of poor judgment, and it's gone. We've seen it time and time again, haven't we? Star players, franchise quarterbacks, future Hall of Famers, seeing their careers crumble before our very eyes. Domestic violence, assault, DUIs. These charges don't just tarnish reputations, they destroy them. Sponsorships disappear faster than a screen pass against a blitz. Contracts get torn up. The cheers of the crowd turn into deafening silence. And the worst part? The impact on their public image. These guys are role models, whether they like it or not. Kids look up to them, wear their jerseys, dream of following in their footsteps. But when violence enters the equation, that image is shattered. The trust is broken. The fans feel betrayed. And that, my friends, is a stain that's incredibly hard to erase. It's a cautionary tale, a stark reminder that actions have consequences. And in the high-stakes world of the NFL, those consequences can be career-ending. Now, you can't talk about NFL players and violence without mentioning name of a high-profile player. This is a name that was synonymous with greatness, with Super Bowl rings, with breaking records. But then, the news hit. Accusations of mention the nature of accusations. The details, man, they were downright disturbing. And just like that, the narrative changed. The Golden Boy, the hero, was now facing serious allegations. The court of public opinion was in session and the verdict was swift and merciless. Mention details of the case and its impact. It was a fall from grace that nobody could have predicted. This wasn't just another athlete in trouble. This was name of the player. And it sent shockwaves through the league and beyond. It served as a stark reminder that even the biggest stars, the ones we think we know, are capable of the unthinkable. Let's talk about the media, shall we? News travels at the speed of light. Media coverage of NFL players can be relentless. It's news, plain and simple. But there's a fine line between reporting and sensationalizing. The 24/7 news cycle can turn into a circus. Real lives are at stake, reputations and families are impacted. Media scrutiny can also be a force for good. It holds athletes accountable and sparks important conversations. So it's a double-edged sword. The media must report accurately and fairly, avoiding exploitation for ratings. Chapter 4. Justice Served, the Legal Ramifications. Now, let's not forget, we live in a country where you're innocent until proven guilty. But when NFL players are accused of violence, the legal battles can be brutal. We're talking high-profile lawyers, intense media scrutiny, and the potential for life-altering consequences. Jail time, fines, probation, these are serious penalties, folks. And then there's the civil lawsuits. Victims have every right to seek justice and compensation for their pain and suffering. These lawsuits can drag on for years, costing millions of dollars, and further damaging the player's reputation. But here's the thing, the legal system isn't perfect. We've seen cases where players were wrongly accused, their careers ruined by false allegations, and we've seen instances where the punishment didn't seem to fit the crime, where the justice system failed to deliver a sense of true accountability. It's a complex issue and there's no easy answer. But one thing's for sure, when it comes to violence, the legal system has a crucial role to play in holding perpetrators accountable and protecting the rights of victims. Chapter 5. The Shield Cracks. The NFL's Response. The NFL, a billion-dollar organization, often seems more concerned with its image than player well-being. Their response to off-field violence has been inconsistent. We've seen suspensions, fines, and bans, but also instances where they turned a blind eye. Remember the mention a specific incident and the NFL's response? That was a PR nightmare. It took massive public outcry to force their hand. They've implemented new policies and initiatives, but are they doing enough? Are they committed to changing the culture of violence? The jury's still out on that one. The NFL must protect its players and the integrity of the game. They need a firm stance against violence in all forms. Chapter 6. Beyond the headlines, the numbers don't lie. Now let's talk numbers because statistics don't lie. According to, mention a credible source, mention statistics related to violence among NFL players. Think about that for a second. These aren't just numbers on a page, these are real people, real lives impacted by violence. Domestic violence, assault, DUI, these are serious offenses that have no place in our society, let alone in a league that prides itself on discipline and sportsmanship. Now, some might argue that these numbers are no different from the general population. But that's not the point, is it? NFL players are held to a higher standard whether they like it or not. They're role models, they're public figures, they represent the shield. And the reality is, the prevalence of violence among NFL players is a problem that needs to be addressed head-on. Chapter 7. More than just a game, the psychological toll. Now let's talk about the mental aspect of this, the psychological factors that contribute to violent behavior. These athletes, they live in a pressure cooker. The constant competition, the fear of injury, the pressure to perform at an elite level week after week, it takes a toll. Add to that the culture of violence that's been ingrained in football for decades. The glorification of the big hit, the play through the pain mentality, the idea that showing any sign of weakness is unacceptable, it creates a breeding ground for aggression. And let's not forget about the physical toll this game takes. Concussions, brain injuries, chronic pain, these can have devastating long-term effects on a player's mental health. We need to understand that violence isn't just a matter of right and wrong, it's often a symptom of deeper issues. The NFL needs to provide these players with the mental health resources they need, the counseling, the support systems to address these issues before they escalate into violence. Now, in fairness to the NFL, they've taken some steps to address this issue. They've implemented programs like mention programs implemented by the NFL, aimed at educating players about domestic violence, promoting healthy relationships, and providing resources for those struggling with anger management or substance abuse. They've also strengthened their personal conduct policy, increasing punishments for players involved in violent incidents. But here's the thing. Are these efforts enough? Are they just PR moves, or are they truly committed to creating a culture change within the league? We need to see more than just words, folks. We need to see action. We need to see the NFL prioritize player well-being, invest in comprehensive mental health resources, and hold abusers accountable regardless of their status. It's a long road ahead, but the NFL has a responsibility to be a leader in this fight, to use its platform to advocate for change and create a safer environment for everyone involved. Now, it's not all doom and gloom, folks. There are stories of redemption, of players who made mistakes, owned up to them, and turned their lives around. Mention a player who turned his life around, for example. He was involved in a mention the incident, faced serious consequences, but he took responsibility for his actions. He went through counseling, became an advocate for Mention the Cause, and dedicated his life to making amends. Or how about mention another player who turned his life around? He was another one who went down the wrong path, but he found the strength to turn things around. He used his platform to raise awareness about Mention the Cause, and became a beacon of hope for others struggling with similar issues. These stories remind us that people can change, that redemption is possible, but it takes courage, it takes accountability, and it takes a willingness to do the hard work to earn back trust. Now, let's not forget about the fans, the ones who invest their hearts and souls into this sport. When NFL players are involved in violence, it shakes our faith in the game we love. It makes us question our allegiance, our support for a league that often seems to prioritize profit over people. And what about the impact on communities? These incidents tarnish the reputation of the team, the city, and the sport itself. They send a message that violence is acceptable, that it's just part of the game. And that's a dangerous message to send, especially to young people who look up to these athletes as role models. We need to remember that football is more than just a game. It's a part of our culture, our communities, our lives. And when violence infiltrates the sport, it has a ripple effect that extends far beyond the field. Thank you for joining us on this important discussion. We've covered a lot of ground today, from the impact on players' careers to the NFL's response, from the psychological factors to the stories of redemption. Remember, while football is a game of passion and skill, it's crucial to address and prevent violence both on and off the field. We need to hold players accountable for their actions, provide them with the support they need, and create a culture of respect and responsibility. Stay tuned for more insightful content.